Hey everybody, this is Ben, part of T3 Productions, and this is the first of hopefully many Netrunner videos to come. And this game is actually from a tournament on July 11th, 2014. And on the right, you see myself playing The World Is Yours, and on the left is one of my buddies, Vicente, playing Kate. And you can see that beautiful alt art Kate there on the left. Now this tournament was important because it was actually test practice for me, because I went to regionals the following week in San Rafael, and we'll definitely have some more videos on that. This whole thing was just to stress test my decks. Alright, so here we go, and hedge fund to start. That's exactly what you want to see, pretty much against anybody, and follow it up with what looks like it's going to be some ice. And this was actually an interesting scenario because Vicente wasn't sure if he was going to go to regionals at all at this point. He was on the waiting list because it had like an 80-person waiting list, and there was another, I don't know, 10 people or so on the or there was 80 people on the that were registered, another 10 people or so. So he opens up with professional contacts, and that kind of signals to me that he's gonna be using it a lot. That's not a card that you're going to include unless you really are planning on leveraging that, which is great for me because it kind of gives me a target, and I know that I'm going to be looking for, looking into scoring that breaking news and trying to get it later in the game. So I drop a Jackson and draw a couple cards up, just open up my hand, fill it back up, and then pass my turn. So here goes Vicente using his professional contacts, draw up some cards, get some money. Definitely a good play since he had to go broke playing the professional contacts in the first place, and following up with daily cast, which is going to be super good for the next 4 turns as he just kind of gains some bucks and passes priority to me. So Vicente has a lot of let's say passive economy. He gets money when he draws cards, and he gets money when his turn starts. So that's pretty good, especially now that he has 2 self-modifying codes. Hopefully he has enough money to actually use them both without too much of an issue. On my turn, just install and ice up. And if I remember correctly, that is a Sansan city grid. And I'm actually trying to see if he has any tricks or if he tries to attack it and spend some money. I never really mind if someone trashes a Sansan. That's, if they want to waste a click and 5 credits, it doesn't really hurt me too much, especially when I have a Jackson on the table, so I can just throw that guy right back in, and not really a problem to me. And at this point, really, I'm comfortable. I have 9 credits. Everything in front of me is iced up, even though, well, you just see me resing that wraparound. So even with a self-modifying code, he has to go get his corroder, and just causes him to spend some money and makes him pay out. But he bounces off here and draws up some more cards with professional contacts. And plays a Dyson Nem chip, and he's back down to 2 credits. So not really what he wants to see. He doesn't have a whole lot of money, but he did bounce, and him not getting that corroder really hurt him, because I just got 10 credits off 2 successful demonstrations, which is hugely underrated. I love that card. Well worth the 1 influence in my opinion. And I install over that Sansan and paying the 1. So I'm sitting on a buttload of credits, and definitely going to be looking to take advantage of my credit advantage going through the game, even though he's in a pretty good position with those 2 self-modifying codes. They're one-shot use programs, so he has to use them pretty well, and obviously a corroder's a great play to get to R&D, and I'm sure he plays indexing. Being a shaper, a lot of shapers, there's no reason not to play indexing if you're a shaper, because seeing 5 cards is amazing. And yeah, so here he goes, makes a run on R&D, and oh yeah, so there you go, you can actually see that indexing. So I don't know it at the time, but it's a safe assumption on my part. But looking back, it's confirmed that he definitely plays indexing, so that's something to keep an eye out for, and something I was definitely aware of moving forward in this game. And you're going to see this a lot. I'm actually getting some click trackers. That's what I use the flame tokens for. They're actually from a Warhammer Invasion, just kind of neat little tokens that picked up and started using. Never played Warhammer, so I don't really know how it is, but tokens are cool, and don't really know what else to use them for, so why not click trackers? And Vicente here just discarding down at the end of his turn. And you see the camera shaking a little bit. This was one of the first times I was actually recording matches, so I've been trying a number of different methods and alternatives to try and record. So through these opening few videos, you might see some differences in like framing and just general shakiness and jitters. So just bear with me as I try out a few things and see what works best. And Vicente here still trying to figure out what he wants to discard down. And he loses that Garrote, which is awesome for me. I play Roto Turret, so you know, him dropping that Garrote is really, really good for me to see. So I res the Sansan for 6, and then advance, and here you go. I'm going to pop that breaking news, and really, really hamper his economy a little bit. And while it hurt my wallet, so I just went from 17 to 7 credits in that turn, he's, you know, it's not as easy for him to gain money anymore. So now instead of drawing and gaining credits, he has to either draw or gain credits, and just kind of banking on him not having another professional contacts, or, you know, even if he does, another 5 credit hit for that card is a huge swing in tempo. But of course, following up with Magnum Opus pretty much makes that point moot. However, he's forces him to commit quite a bit of memory to Magnum Opus, so it's a fair trade-off. But he definitely has an economic edge with that in play, because everything. Oh, and he runs on R&D and scores that Astro script, so that's pretty good. Definitely not what I wanted to see, because you know, I would have loved to have that, especially instead of scoring out that Beal like I just did, install advance, puts me at 2 points. So now I'm on the board. We're tied up. There we go. So, yep, I now have, no, so we're not tied up. Nope, I actually have 3 points to his 2, which is nice. And he makes another run on R&D and doesn't see anything useful there. Unfortunately, we can't see what I have there either. And he uses Magnum to gain some more money. So I'm drawing up a new card, using Jackson to draw up some more. Just giving a little shuffle here, and that's actually a habit I picked up fairly recently, and have been doing a lot of, unfortunately. So I install over that wraparound and gain a credit, I believe, for my last action, which is why my money didn't change. Pass priority over to Vicente. And looks like he makes a run on Archive, so I'm going to shuffle in a few cards. And I'm pretty sure at least one of those is an NAPD. And even though he could have the money with that Magnum Opus, it doesn't make sense to trade the points in there. I would rather not give him 4 points and put him up in the game and just waste Jackson. And at this point in the game, I'm pretty sure I actually have another one in my hand. So not really a big loss as far as I'm concerned. More worried about maintaining my board position than keeping the points up. But it is important to note that he doesn't have any MU left, even with that self-modifying code. So if he has something in his hand, he's going to have to trash something to put it into play. So it's, you know, it doesn't seem ideal, but if he wasted a click to put down the self-modifying code earlier and then never ends up using it, it's not really a problem in my book. I'm all about having the runner waste time and waste money for no real reason, so it doesn't bother me one bit. And he plays that Tinkering on the Eli, which doesn't really do anything. Here he actually thought that was a roto turret. He saw me draw it earlier in the game. So, you know, wasting that tinkering on an Eli, still paying to get through, and tinkering pretty much going to waste since he could have used his corroder to break it anyway. But paying 5 to get into the server and getting that Beal. So he's definitely getting some really good R&D accesses, and at this point, all my ice in front is doing is taxing him and causing him to click a couple times to get some money with Opus. So he's still winning out on the efficiency battle here a little bit, but I'm going to do everything I can here to try and turn that around. So install and gain 2 credits. And I said I had that Jackson in my hand. I'm pretty sure this is a Jackson. I'm trying to bait him into a run just to make him waste his time. And I'm pretty sure I actually have a roto turret on top there, and hoping that he just runs and uses, well, he doesn't have the money, well, unless he plays Parasite, which I don't actually know if he does, but that would be the only way for him to get through a roto turret without losing something else important. So clicking Opus and going up a couple more credits, up to 6. And let's see here, doing some thinking. And that looks like it's actually a problem in my display. I have 4 up there, even though he has 6. Actually, he had 5 a minute ago, so I have to go back and look at that, but alright, so he makes a run on R&D, spending down, and doesn't see anything worthwhile there. And clicking back up with Opus to go back to 5 credits. So he's up on me at this point now, 4-3, which would probably bother a lot of players. So you see me trash that Jackson and install Advance. I'm pretty confident that's an Astro script. I can't recall. Unfortunately, it's off screen and I didn't really see it. It's either an Astro script or a Beal. Well, obviously, but most likely it's gonna be a Beal, or else I probably would have scored that Astro script last turn instead, just to make it a little bit more efficient. And you always want an Astro script more than the Beal. It's just better, at least in this version of The World Is Yours, or NBN, I should say, that's not a tag based deck and just goes to fast advance everything out as quickly as possible. So making a run on that remote and rezzing the Quandary. And yeah, here you go. So he's going to play that Gordian Blade and loses the self-modifying code. And this completely opens up the roto turret that I know I play. So now he can get in and trash the Sand, but he can't stop a roto turret from blowing his stuff up. So I like to see that, and roto turret's the only sentry I play in this deck. So if anytime I see a sentry breaker or I don't see a sentry breaker, either way it's good news, because if they played a sentry breaker, the only thing it's going to be good for is roto turret. If they don't play a sentry breaker, I'm going to blow up something else of theirs. So it's a good trade-off, and even after they do play a sentry, a killer, that's still 2 credits tax, unless you're playing some crazy stealth program, but I don't think there's anything for killers that breaks all subroutines for 1 click yet, or for 1 credit. So running on HQ, and I'll risk the pop-up window and gaining some money. And at this point, I'm pretty sure he's attacking my hand and obviously trying to get agendas, but I don't believe I actually have some. Oh, no, I lied. So here's an NAPD. Debating whether he wants to pay through it. And yep, he's going to steal that. So he's at 6 to my 5. Kind of a scary position, because anything that he gets, and there is another breaking news in the deck, so any other agenda that he finds means it's game. And making that play earlier to shuffle the NAPD back in my deck, that was definitely huge. And he keeps attacking HQ and giving me money to actually afford that hedge fund that he just saw. And still attacking HQ there. But I'm pretty sure the NAPD was the only other agenda that was in my hand at that point. So drawing up, and you can see a couple sweeps weak in my hand there, and installing over the wraparound, or excuse me, installing over the pop-up. And yeah, playing that hedge fund, so gaining some bucks, icing up, just to make him spend more money and waste more time, and installing the Jackson. Actually, I'm not sure if that's Jackson. That could be another Sansan. That's a play I do pretty often. And it is a Jackson, but he just doesn't have the money to trash it. So he probably should have clicked Opus first there. But instead he's running the Jackson, using Opus twice to go up to 5. And then paying 5. I'm not quite sure what he paid 5 for there. Oh, paying 5 to make a run on R&D. So I was deciding whether I wanted to res Jackson, and or whether I wanted to trash Jackson to thin out the number of agendas. But doing some counting there isn't that many left in my deck. You know, that's one of the big benefits of The World Is Yours, is I don't have to play as many agendas, and it's a thinner deck, which are both great things. And here you go. So I drop twice with Jackson, and fast track the Astro script into my hand, and revealing that, shuffling back up. And this puts a lot of pressure, because I'm pretty sure that in front of that pop-up is one of those roto turrets I was mentioning before. So if he does run on HQ, he's not only going to get locked out, but he's going to get that corroder destroyed, so he can't even get into HQ to make any, or excuse me, get into R&D to get any other accesses. So he knows if he doesn't win on this turn, it's game over. And I have 6 cards in my hand, and there's a 1 out of 6 chance of him pulling that agenda, even if he does get into HQ. And this is a pretty good state to be in, because he doesn't have money. So it makes that gamble, I guess you would call it, even more worthwhile. Just because he doesn't have an easy way. Even if he had the killer in hand, I saw that Garrote earlier. So he's probably playing another Garrote, and while he does have the clone chip, it's going to cost him a lot of money to get it out, and he doesn't really have that economic time. So, taking advantage of this window that he offered, and as I said, he runs on R&D, and I used Jackson to thin that out. And you saw me put a face down card, which I'm pretty sure was just another fast track, along with a face up fast track and a hedge fund, or sweep tweak, but it's pretty moot. Just 3 cards that can't be trashed, and he accesses, and it's Quandary, and I install advance for the win. And that's pretty much it. So it wasn't a very quick fast advance. That game actually took a little bit longer than they usually do against this version of the deck, but he got some great accesses, and I didn't really have anything on top of R&D to capitalize on his lack of sentries, and he managed to avoid that game without the roto turret. So shuffling back up a little bit, picking up, and Vicente's great, and luckily as we kind of went on, the waiting list in San Rafael actually ended up dropping down a little bit, so Vicente was able to go, and I'm not sure what he ended up running up in San Rafael. I can't really recall. I think it was actually this Kate and this HB, because he had not planned on going during the week, and it was a happy coincidence that he was luckily able to go. And I know we're from LA, as I said, and he got a call at about 6 p.m. on Friday saying that the waiting list had, enough people had dropped where he had made the cut. So he hadn't been really play testing or anything for the week, and just had to pick up and head head up north, which is about a 6+ hour drive up to the San Francisco area. So game 2, he's playing Haas Bioroid Engineering the Future, and you can see he's rocking out both of those custom IDs or Altar IDs with the HB and Kate, the HB from the spring of 2014 kit, and Kate being from, I believe, summer 2013. And so getting a copy of both of those. And this is me with Noise trying out a deck that I eventually ended up taking to the regionals. And I won't spoil how that went, but it's pretty fun. I like it. And so this is game 2 of match 2 for the MTGDeals tournament. And going into this this round, we were both 2-0, so we both had 4 prestige, 2 wins, no losses, and we were actually joking around about playing each other before this match began. So opening up with a hedge fund, gaining 4 credits, pretty good play for Haas Bioroid. Installing over R&D, gaining a credit, using that HB ability, and installing over HQ. And that's a play you see, that's exactly what you want, especially out of HB. Going from 0 to 10 credits and icing up everything in front, super strong. And definitely puts pressure on me right off the bat. And a lot of people are worried now about, because of Stephen Woolley at Team Covenant playing account siphon out of Anarchs, and that, that knowledge is definitely something I took advantage of throughout this and the regionals. So I go up here, play Quality Time, gain 6 credits, netting 6 credits, I should say, and playing a Grimoire, so helping out those virus acceleration going into the rest of the game. Vicente installs a new server, or ice over new server, a card in the new server, and then draws a card. And passes priority to me, so I'm going to play an Imp, forcing him to mill, and I get 3 virus tokens on that because of Grimoire. And that's really awesome. Imp is an outstanding card, and with Grimoire it becomes really, really scary. So I make a run on HQ, and he rests a swordsman, which is kind of weird considering I don't really have anything. But, I take the net damage, and that's really it, and lose that stim hack, which isn't the worst thing that could happen. And I get a Jackson and decide to imp it. I'm pretty sure I have a liberated accounts in my hand, which is why I wanted to keep the money. And third click, making a run on R&D, and I lose that last click and make him spend out a little bit for the Swordsman and the Enigma, which is alright. It doesn't really bother me too much. And some people would rather pay to get rid of Jackson, but with this deck in particular, 6 credits is really, really important to get to. It enables liberated accounts, and that's a great way to get money, and it's a big chunk of burst economy. So he reses Melange and nets 6 credits on the turn. I play Data Sucker, which comes into play with a token, and he mills another card, so now he has 2 face down in Archives. And I'm going to Dirty Laundry Archives and actually getting an accelerated beta test out of it and a sucker token. So overall, that was pretty great. Getting money, getting another sucker token, getting an agenda, nothing bad came out of that. And that was my last click. So we go to Vicente, who mandatory draws, installs over Archives, and of course pretty expected of people playing against Noise, just because that milling, it's not consistent and it's not reliable, but it is random and disruptive, which is what Noise is about. At least when I hear that, I always think of like static noise, which is extremely disruptive in anything that you do. So click 1, I draw, click 2, I draw, and he also iced up over that Enigma. So yep, there's that liberated accounts, which there are 3 of in this deck. And my last click will be to click liberated accounts and gain some of that money back. So there's still 12 credits sitting on Liberated, and now I'm sitting at 6. So that's a great place to be. 12 credits doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you play viruses that just pretty much get exponentially better as you have more in play and do the same actions that you want to do anyway, it snowballs pretty quick. So he plays Restructure, gains a pile of credits, and installs over the Swordsman, which is a good play since the Swordsman really doesn't do a whole lot right now. You know, this deck does rely on AI breakers, but I don't really have any in play, so plus it's very susceptible to Parasite. Alright, so click 1, installing Clone Chip. Click 2, clicking Liberated, so I just took the credit off of the Liberated there. Click 3. I believe click 3 and 4 I actually just drew. So it's probably click, draw 2 cards, and then install the Clone Chip and take money from Liberated. And that's it for me. So I'm sitting in a pretty good position, you know. He has a lot of ice up, but they're all fairly low strength, and even, which makes the 2 Data Sucker counters, makes them really good, with everything being such low strength, so I don't really mind too much. So he installs a new remote, installs over that new remote, and advances for 1 credit, and again, I'm pretty sure he's been making money off HB every single turn, which is exactly what you want to do. I'm going to run on Melange. He reses Guard for 4, which is fine. Pretty sure this play was just to make him spend out some money, since it doesn't really bother me too much. So now I'm running on HQ and seeing if he wants to res whatever's in front of Swordsman, and he does. So he reses the Roto Turret. I had already fanned out my cards, expecting that he wasn't going to res that, but he spends the 4 credits and blows something up, which is pretty annoying. You know, I really like the Data Sucker, and I really like that imp. So chooses the Data Sucker, which is a good play. Really, you can't go wrong when you have an imp and a Data Sucker, both with 2 tokens on it. Both of those are good choices. Click 3. I am going to run on the remote, and it's another Roto Turret. Really not what I wanted to see there. I liked both of my programs, and losing both of them in 1 turn is pretty devastating. So I just used my last click to draw back up to 5, looking for some options. Looking for those Parasites, probably, because need to get through those Roto Turrets somehow. And definitely it's not going to be an AI, because even if I get through the Roto Turret on HQ, that Swordsman's just going to blow it up. So definitely looking for Parasites here. And he thinks and just decides to Melange back up to a reasonable number of credits. And there's the Parasite. So spend 2, loses that Roto Turret, and mills a card. Click 2, I'm going to run in the remote, and I get an NAPD, which it's worth the advantage, the short-term advantage, and, you know, starting to put it in the trash, which definitely not where that goes. NAPD would be a million times better and if it just went to the trash after it was accessed. But click 3, I run on Archives, and I face check another Enigma. So for those keeping score at home, I have face checked 2 Enigmas, losing the click both times when I ran on click 3, and I face checked 2 Roto Turrets, causing me to lose an Imp and a Data Sucker, both with 2 tokens on it. So I just like running into things, I guess, but I guess it's what you expect with Anarchs. And he follows up with a Biotic to get the accelerated beta test out of hand, which I'm not sure if that was a really good play, because I didn't have much else I could do at this point. I had some money and a full hand, mostly full hand, and money on Liberated, but I think he was just feeling pressure being at no points to my 4 and wanted to make sure he got on the board, or at least close enough. Just for that satisfaction. So I trash the clone chip, putting it on the Enigma, and he mills a card. And I do that actually before the beginning of my turn. So it comes into play because of Grimoire, with a token because of Grimoire, and then at the beginning of my turn, it gets another token, and it blows up. And kind of puts him at a perilous position because he doesn't have money, and he doesn't really have a lot of money, or at least enough to res that. So click 1, I install Medium, which comes into play with a token. Click 2, I run. Click 3, I run, and I've seen a wraparound, and I believe that's a Victor 1. I can't tell, but I catch that Vitruvius, putting me at 6. So I don't have a lot of money, but I do have 4 more on Liberated. And that's really been my main source of economy. The rest of this game I've just been drawing and making runs and putting cards into play, and really being fueled by that Liberated accounts. So you can see why I wanted to do that early. So click 1, I run on R&D. And he just melanged and went back up. So he reses the toll booth, but I only have 2 credits, so I don't lose anything, just cost him a bunch of money. Click 2, I use Liberated to get money. Click 3, I put another Liberated into play, and again, having 2 credits, clicking off Liberated puts me at 6, which I can just put another one into play and have a potential of 16 more credits, which is awesome. That's huge value. And if I can keep that Liberated account train rolling and, keep stealing those credits from the rich corpse, it's gonna go well for me. Definitely don't mind doing that. Click 1 and click 2, drawing up my cards, looking for answers. At this point, I don't really have any breakers. Well, I have a knight now, but this deck really only runs knights and Crypsis, so it's it's 6 breakers out of the deck, and he has a bunch of ice, and you have to be really careful with it. So gain some money, put the knight into play, and just trying to get in a better position. So he installs over archives, which signals to me that something is probably there, which is interesting, which I guess might not be true. I guess he's probably just locking up anything there, but at this point in the game, I read it as there's something there, especially since he did it following my knight play. So I assumed that he was telegraphing that, and then puts an upgrade in front of R&D and installs another remote. So click 1, I play another knight, and that's super good, as you can imagine. Clicks 2 and 3, I get some money. And I think there's another draw. I'm unfortunately not trying to look for draw, so I feel like I'm missing that a lot. But I just gained money with Liberated and put that knight into play. And he just uses Melange, and he's been doing that a lot, which is kind of a concern, but oh well. Click 1, I run on the remote, see the Adonis. I decide not to trash. Clicks 2 and 3, I use those knights to make a move on archives and make a run there. Click 4. So I pay 2 to break Ice Wall. I pay 2 to break Enigma, leaving me with 4. And I see the NAPD, leaving with 4 perfectly. So that's game. And I got him 7-2. And really, we bantered about this afterwards, but he was banking on me spending to trash that Adonis, because then it would have left me broke and unable to steal the NAPD that was hiding in archives. But the way I figured it is I was waiting for him to res the Adonis, because I had the 2 knights, so I could easily get back in there. So thanks for watching, and keep your eye out for more videos.